Monday Health Minutes, sponsored by Valley Health.
Hi, I'm Melanie Shafer. Welcome to Monday Health Minutes with Valley Health. Boy, nosebleeds can look kind of scary, but most are really minor. For some people, they can happen often. So how do you know how much is too much and when you should seek help? How do you get them to stop? We're talking with Valley Health's Tiffany Aing. She's a physician assistant with our ear, nose, and throat department about this today. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Nosebleeds can be so yucky and embarrassing for a lot of folks. And my son deals with these all the time, so I have seen him, struggle with them. What are the most common causes of nosebleeds?
So in our little ones, a lot of the times it's easily just as much as picking. They are interested, they're intrigued, they want to know, and again, we see that a lot. They tend to pick, and that ends up leaving some sores sometimes in the nose, especially if they're dry. A lot of dryness, and that can just kind of create this area inside the nose that just is very easily bleeds. The nose is very hypervascular, just as a general statement. And so just sometimes even the smallest hit to it can make it bleed. There are, seasons that we typically do tend to see. Sometimes the change of the seasons causes those bleeds to go. I feel like I see a lot happen more in the winter time. That typically is because we're turning the heat on. We've got dry air. So patients may still sleep with like a fan though over, and that causes just this very dry environment. And sometimes it just is some anatomy that's off inside the nose. And so those are some of the biggest reasons that I see.
So when the change of the season, should people really consider a humidifier if they're prone to nosebleeds?
That is something, if we're going to kind of try to treat conservatively initially, if we're not going to be talking about any type of like procedures or surgeries, conservative approach for treatments, and especially in the winter, we usually do recommend like a humidifier in the bedroom, again, watching the fans in the face, and just, again, trying to keep things nice and moist. Saline sprays, we'll sometimes do those and recommend those inside of the nose. Another big one that we'll sometimes recommend for prevention or just to help some of the dryness and crusting, if you do feel like you or your child does that, is bacitracin. That's something that you can find over the counter, and just applying a small amount of that into the nostril, not a lot. We don't need you like inhaling that and aspirate or something on that, but just a small amount in the nose and just kind of gently massaging it in the opening, and that typically tends to help.
Okay. When is it cause for concern? Like how much and how often should you be looking for help?
If we can't, people ask, well, how do I stop an active bleed? A lot of the times what we'll say is, find your nasal bones, that's the hard part on the nose here, and go underneath of that, and you squeeze pretty hard for about 5 to 10 minutes or so. If you cannot get it controlled and it's just heavy continuing to pour out of one side versus the other, or especially like if you're an adult and you're on blood thinners and that continues to go, or again, if you do pinch your nose and it's not coming out the front and you feel like it's draining down the back of your throat, those are some indications that, maybe you need to go to the ER to get that under control. Those are typically some of the signs for that.
Okay. If you have frequent nosebleeds, are there any kind of treatments or surgical options that you can explore to try to get them to stop if it really gets to be concerning?
Yes. So a lot of the times we'll recommend doing a nasal cautery. There are different options that you can do for that too if you feel like you can tolerate it. Some of our like young adults and all adults, we can do cautery in the office.
And what exactly is that? Because people may not know.
Yeah, so we use a little silver nitrate stick, and what it does is it kind of basically burns the area, and hopefully that will help, again, bring down that vessel and help it stop the bleed. You also would do the same thing in the OR, just on a bigger scale, and we do have more control of the situation, and usually we'll do that with our kids.
Are there any warning signs that a nosebleed could be a sign of something more serious?
Yes, especially if you are one who does struggle with high blood pressure and you have this bleed, it's very important that you look, and because these things can really coincide together, and that can be more concerned that we might need to have another problem addressed to get the nosebleed addressed. So if blood pressure is a problem for you, definitely look at that. Headaches, and then like I said, just the excessiveness of the bleed those are big things for ER.
And what would be your advice for somebody who's really suffering with nosebleeds quite frequently?
If you have, talked to your primary care doctor and you've really tried the conservative stuff, so again, saline, you're doing your bacitracin, you've done the humidifiers, you've done all that stuff, and you really can't get it under control. I mean, you're getting these things daily, still despite that, or even multiple times a week, I'd really talk to your doctor about maybe getting an ENT referral, and maybe we need to do something else more like a cautery.
Yeah, something to help you
Yeah.
with the situation. All right, Tiffany, thank you so much. We sure appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks for checking in on Monday Health Minutes.